Hey, good morning, everyone. Jason Pickle here with Volunteer Botanicals. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with two of my great friends and business partners, Jim Dissett and Wes Donahoe, both with the Ninth Block out of Denver. The Ninth Block has been a tremendous tool in the evolution of our business. They are a PR marketing firm that is focusing in the cannabis industry. And they have helped us with a tremendous amount of services that we couldn't have done on our own. And I wanted to take a minute to appreciate these guys, talk a little bit about what they do so folks in the industry can reach out to them if it's something that they may need in the evolution of their business as well. Jim, Wes, thank you for joining me today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely. We've been working, just to give a quick background, we've been working with the Ninth Block for probably close to a year now, maybe a little bit less. And the amount of progress in our business, both from a PR perspective, a marketing perspective, awareness, brand strategy, looking at the evolution of our message and being able to really condense it down and offer some value to our customers in an ever-changing, very quickly moving cannabis world has been unbelievably beneficial. So at a general kind of consensus is these types of services might be the first ones you overlook, but they also might be the most valuable ones if you begin to take them in. And the Ninth Block, their team of professionals has really gone above and beyond what we expected when we first started partnering with the Ninth Block. And I'm really proud to have them as our partners. And we believe that they're a fantastic addition to anybody's team that's trying to build a real media marketing PR strategy. Jim, Wes, thank you for taking the time today. One of you guys want to step in and tell me a little bit about Ninth Block, your history, and what you guys are really focusing on and your services that you can provide to companies like ourselves.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thanks again for having us on, Jason. It's been an absolute pleasure working alongside Volunteer Botanicals. First of all, they have some incredible things going for them. Awesome products moving into the future here. So that's been a joy and a blast for us. We love working with exciting technology. And, when it comes to the Ninth Block, really, we are here to help companies grow. At the basis of it, that is what we do. We offer PR services, branding, digital marketing, anything from photography, video, brand builds to websites, SEO. But PR is really our bread and butter. And when it comes to public relations, we're talking about building stories over time and really positioning companies as thought leaders, earning them that media that gets them the authority and the credibility they need to really get that foothold in the industry. And when it comes to PR, there's a lot that goes into that. I'd love for Jim to just give a quick overview of some of the services that we do offer in the PR world.
Sure. And again, I want to echo what Wes said about working with Volunteer Botanicals. You guys have been like an ideal client because you're open to ideas and you have a lot of ideas of your own, and you recognize the need for communication and how to deliver messages out to the public and your audiences. So it has been a real pleasure, and we're happy to be here with you guys today. PR, I think, is a very misunderstood tactic for a lot of brands and companies. They don't really understand. They think PR means press releases. And I think that, what we like to do with our clients is help them understand that communication is more than just one tactic, and it's everything that you do. It's all of your audiences that you need to find a way to reach out to, whether that's consumers or potential partners or influencers, other folks in the industry. And there are a lot of ways to communicate with those folks. And so I think that part of our job with clients is just to kind of help them understand the options and the opportunities that are out there, and the opportunities that they're losing when they're not engaging in a consistent communication program.
Absolutely well said. And, the irony for our viewers that are going to be watching this is my personal degree is in marketing and public relations, but the amount of value that a team like this has added to me is unbelievable, because there's so many moving pieces, especially in the cannabis industry. Things move very fast. And if you're in a business that's in the industry, your title might be marketing or sales or whatever it is. But as you know, you probably wear 1,000 hats all at once. So touching on what Jim and Wes said, building a strategy and building a true plan, whether that's to reach a customer, whether that's to get some awareness, whether that's, there's a variety of different facets, building out your website, building out social media, an actual communications plan for the year, media kits. There's a myriad of things that are out there that many of us overlook. And I think having you guys in our corner has really helped us stay focused, getting after our target markets and really focusing on our target message. And within this industry, I think it's something that's very easily overlooked, but maybe from our perspective, one of the most critical pieces. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, totally agree. And just having that strategy in place in general is important. There are a lot of companies that are overlooking things like media relations, communications, and PR right now. And so doing something is better than nothing. I think that's the first most important thing to note there. You have to be out there talking about what you're doing. And so when we first came in to work with y'all, Jason, we sat down and learned about what your plans were for the future, obviously gained an understanding of your technology and what it can do. But more importantly, we came in to learn what your goals were and where you guys were headed in the next, 12 to 24 months and beyond, because that allows us to come in, work alongside you, and build up a story that's going to position you to get to where you want to be and go achieve those goals. And I think that's a really important thing to know. When we come in, we're not coming in to tell you, hey, this is how you speak and this is where you're going to go speak. It's, hey, what are your goals? What are y'all doing today, tomorrow, and the next day? And how can we work together to build a story that gets you to that spot?
Absolutely. And that's something that we had never really thought about. Like I said, ironically, though that's my background, it's so difficult to really put all of those pieces. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's easy to say that, Wes, but as you guys know better than probably anybody, that's a lot of moving pieces. And when we sat down with you guys, we had a specific plan of, hey, we want to get in front of specific clientele, specific publications, and tell a very specific message. And you guys helped us really dissect what that meant and allowed us to move that message into different mediums that we never would have thought about, or different speaking engagements that we never would have even really known about. And I think that evolution of these discussions and a true brand strategy is something that's really important, because Volunteer Botanicals, our goal is never to be really out in front. You're not going to see us as a brand that's on the shelf. You're going to see us as a company that has some technology that can help other brands expand what they're doing. So it's a completely different approach than someone that might be brand forward. And you guys helped us really understand what that meant and the type of people we really need to be communicating to. So the value that you've added to our team by helping us take those messages, take our goals, and then break them up into chunks, right? We might have a big overreaching goal, but what does that mean monthly? What does that mean yearly? Where are the publications you're focusing on, the speaking engagements you're focusing on, the media outlets that we need to sharpen in those relationships? And it's been a huge asset to us. And I want to pass it on to Jim real quick. Jim's been a fantastic partner as well, and helping us with getting into some newspapers that we wouldn't have gotten into, getting some national press that we never would have been able to even do, and even handling inbound media that responds to a lot of these messages, these strategic messages that we're putting out, and really being able to take those calls in an educated way on our behalf and focus them in the right direction. And Jim, tell the readers how you see, or the listeners kind of how you see the evolution of that, right? Because I know in the cannabis industry, we're all focused on our job, but the reality is our job really is connecting with the public and connecting with the media and connecting with our outlets. And sometimes we as business owners or workers don't really have the tools to be able to do that, but you've really helped us a lot get our heads around that and even just handle it, really truly handle it.
Well, thanks. And it's been a pleasure to do that for you guys, because you have a lot of great news to tell. So that makes our job a little easier. But I think that one of the things that we try to bring to every client, and on the PR and communication side, but on any kind of project, whether it's a website or a branding project that we're doing for them, is that you really need to be strategic about what you're doing. From a PR perspective, we advocate for programs that are strategic, sincere, and sustained. And that means it's not a one-shot press release. That means like you mentioned, having a plan and having at least 3 to 6 month plan of what you're going to be talking about, who your audience is, and how you can reach that audience. I think a lot of folks, everybody wants to be in the biggest publication or media outlet that they can find. And those are great and prestigious, but sometimes, your best audience is that niche publication that is exactly the target you're looking for. So we really work with clients to build that strategic plan so they have a path forward.
And I will say that that strategic plan is so critical, and these niche markets are really, really important. For example, some of our ingredients that we develop, that we have some interesting processes to turn cannabinoids and terpenes into new and exciting formats that can now move out of the hemp and cannabis space into vitamins and nutraceuticals. It's a completely different marketplace, right, than the hemp or cannabis industry. So you're speaking with people that have certain expectations in a very established market, very set of rules, and trying to break into some of those things is very difficult. And you guys have really taken the ball on that for us and helped us to look at things in a strategic way that maybe we wouldn't have done in the past. And I think that that is so important, that we're all we're on the bleeding edge, right? We're all helping the cannabis industry move forward, each of us doing our specific roles. But a lot of that encompasses moving outside of the traditional way we've been thinking about what we're doing. And that's one of the most valuable things I think your team has offered to us, is how to look at things with a fresh perspective, how to get in front of customers that may not be the customer of yesterday, but truly maybe is the customer of tomorrow. And I think that that's invaluable, because as we're looking at this industry as it expands, that is where the real growth potential is.
Yeah, I think,
Jason,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think that's a great point. Back to something Jim said on that note, everybody wants to be in Forbes, everybody wants to be in New York Times and Bloomberg. That's not always going to get you the traction and get you to the goals that you've laid out there, right? Speaking to these more niche publications, trying to be strategic about how we actually approach communication and strategic about the sectors and targets that we approach when we go and try and share that story, that's going to be more beneficial to help us reach our goals than just trying to do this scattershot approach. Because if we can get Volunteer Botanicals, which we did, by the way, into nutraceuticals world with the Byline article, that's that niche publication that's speaking directly to the Volunteer Botanicals customer of tomorrow, versus Forbes, which is great and it adds a lot of credibility, but we may not get as many direct inbound leads from a story like that.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
There's a cachet to being in those publications, but I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to clients in initial conversations, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we were in Bloomberg," and you're like, "Oh, when was that?" "Oh, 11 months ago," and we were mentioned in one paragraph.
And then what? And then what? That was it?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's awesome, but that doesn't really tell your story. So
Yeah.
you need to be able to find the avenues where you can really tell the story you want to tell.
That's so true. And I want to expand a little bit on what Wes touched on, because he acted like it really wasn't a big deal, but it was a tremendous deal to us. Is we have a process that allows us to convert extracts and terpenes into flowable powders that can actually go into vitamins and nutraceuticals and potentially pharmaceuticals as the industry moves forward. And we know that one of the biggest opportunities for those types of powders is going to be in supplements, nutraceuticals, and co-packing. And we had a kind of a brainstorm session of, we know most of these companies really aren't going to take in cannabinoids because the actual regulations from the FDA aren't there. And many of these companies don't want to jeopardize their infrastructure that they've had in place before cannabinoids even existed in their world. So we kind of had a brain coming together of, how do we penetrate this with a message that we know they want to see? And we all settled in of the process of speaking about terpenes, and how terpenes can be a great addition to the arsenal that these companies can offer in powder form. And again, just all that came through the discussion and really unpacking our thoughts of where we thought the industry was going, even though it's not there yet. And without these guys really helping craft that message, and Jim and Wes writing the particular article on our behalf, and then handling the distribution and the communication to that publication, I'll be honest with you, before we hired these guys, I tried to do that. I tried to make press releases. I tried to get them in front of the right people. I didn't get any responses, none. And I thought, well, this is my degree. Am I just not any good in that? And what I've realized is it's a different world today in media relations and talking to the right people and being able to provide them something in the format that they exactly want is so critical to have that smooth transition into those pubs. And these guys, to them, it's second nature and no big deal. But I'll go ahead and challenge anyone that thinks that they can get into nutraceutical world with a byline article to throw one at them and see what they say. And so these are the kind of things I think that were never our intention to begin with, but they evolved through the course of our working together over the past year. And it's that kind of value, I think, that you guys unpack for people that maybe they didn't even think about. So kudos to you, because that might be something that, oh, well, that's just what we do. But to someone like us, that there's no way we would accomplish that without you.
Hey, well, we appreciate that, Jason. And I think it's a great point because, as we move through engagements with clients, the story that we tell and the way that we tell it often evolves. And, we try our best and we do our best to remain flexible throughout an engagement with a client because, as you said, Jason, we're going to come up with new ideas along the way. We have weekly brainstorms with our clients, weekly meetings where we get to talk about some of these ideas, what's coming next. And being able to collaborate allows us to evolve that story. And, we had that brainstorm. We came up with the thought that terpenes are the way to approach nutraceuticals right now because they're not ready for cannabinoids yet, or at least not ready to talk about it that much. And it worked. And Jason, I think it's a great point that we were able to collaborate on that because also you said you couldn't have done that without us. We couldn't have done that without you, right?
Yeah, well said.
We all work together to come up with those ideas. And I think that's important to note with our approach. We really try and get the client involved.
And on the nutraceuticals world too, that was a really fun one because we had this brainstorm and we came up with this idea and we thought it was great. And then when it happened, it was like, yes, we really, it was a win and everybody got excited. And that's the kind of client, client interaction we like to have.
Those are fun.
We like to feel like we're as much part of their team as their everyday team.
And I will say that it's always a win to get some of that data into a publication that might be hard to crack or that real clientele you're trying to reach. But the coolest part of the story is within a week of that publication being printed and that article being read, we had 2 phone calls from very large companies, and they reached out directly because of the placement in that magazine. So it was one of those things that, yeah, all the brainstorming was fun and a new publication was fun, but what's really fun is when the phone rings and they say, hey, we saw you in nutraceutical world. And one of those companies is a huge company. So people are watching. The niche that you're going after is very important. I will say, gone are the days of the last 5 years of the cannabis industry where everybody's trying to vertically integrate, do everything themselves and saying, we don't need help from anyone. We grow it, we extract it, we convert it, we put it into X, Y, and Z, and then we sell it in a brand and we don't need anyone. Guys, that's our old paradigm. And the new paradigm is, where are we going in the next 5 years? And that's something I think you guys have really helped us frame our thinking about is, let's not do what we've always done. Let's help push and evolve the industry forward because it's really up to us. We are the ones that are the trendsetters. We're the ones that are telling the story. And that allows us to maybe pique the interest of customers who may not be in the space now, but are really ready to come in once the regulations are there. So I couldn't be more thrilled with that particular program that we put together, but there's been countless number of those over the course of the last year. And that's just one of the ones that I got real excited about, especially because people want to see a press release. course, people want to see their name in a newspaper or in a national publication, but what they really want is the phone to ring. And to see that manifest is really exciting. It gives you encouragement that you're on the right track, and let's just keep this up. Because one thing we've learned too is it doesn't get done in a month, right? It's a strategic plan. It's a PR program. It's not something that, hey, we throw a press release, the phone rings, and we're done. Now we can go do our business. It's truly a media program that's developed over time with multiple facets involved. Can you guys touch on that a little bit? The important part of an actual campaign versus just saying, hey, we write some press releases and they get picked up and that's it.
Yeah. And that's one of our 3 pillars of communications that we try to deploy with every client is sustained. If your communication program isn't sustained, if it's fits and starts, you put out a press release and then 3 months later, you don't do anything for 3 months, talk to anybody, and then you put out something else. I think that reflects on the nature of how your business is running. It looks like your business is running in fits and starts. It looks like you have no direction. If you're engaging in an ongoing, continuing conversation with outreach of some form, whether that's media outreach or connecting with the editor to secure a byline article or doing a speaking engagement or any number of other tactics, you're just by the fact of doing that consistently and being sustained, you're sending a message that we're on the move. We have momentum. We are, we're not just sitting around. And I think that a lot of businesses make the mistake of thinking that they only need to communicate when they have something big to communicate. You should be communicating all the time.
Man, I think you just summed it up. And that's something that I learned with my degree of PR and marketing is these things don't happen overnight. They happen with a concerted effort and a strategic plan. And the one thing that I can appreciate about these guys is they've been able to work with us on whatever level that we've been able to work with them. And, this kind of having a team like this in your corner means there's a lot of interaction that goes on. These guys spend weekly calls with us, and there's a lot of moving pieces to this. And they've been able to work with us in our budget where we are today. I would like to say that we've got an unlimited budget that we can do all of these things, but we can't. We're a growing company, and it's important to not forget about these plans and processes, because you say, well, we're not a multi-million-dollar company that we have a full-time marketing team that we pay salaries to, or we can give Jim and Wes a ton of money to just do everything they want to do. And that's been something that's been really important to us, because maybe some months are better than others.
Maybe someday.
Well, we're working towards that. Absolutely. And with help from you guys, we're going to get there sooner than later. But I think that's one thing that I've appreciated, that, people are maybe hesitant to do a monthly type of progress and process, because they say, well, I'd rather just pay a one-shot thing and get my name in this article and move on. But what you touched on, Jim, is very important. It's progress, it's momentum, it's the vision that these guys are doing some really cool stuff and are a viable player in the industry. And it's important to know what Volunteer Botanicals is working on a consistent level. And that doesn't just happen in a one-shot deal. And so I've appreciated you guys working with us at whatever level that we've been able to work with you, and being very fair about it. So it means a lot. And I want to say that, because even if there's small companies out there, don't discount the service of somebody like Ninth Block, because they will work with you. And if you're a large company and you have a ton of money, then they're going to be able to do a ton for you. So it's a neat kind of situation. In the past, I've worked with other PR firms, and they're firm on their prices and their services. And as we know in the cannabis industry and hemp industry, that's firm is not where you can be. You've got to be flexible and movable. And that's one of the things I've really appreciated about working with you guys, is being able to help us at whatever level that we're ready to work on.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. And we're here to grow with our clients. I think that's the important thing to note. PR is something that can build over time. And back to the idea of being sustained, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in month 1. It's probably not going to happen in month 2 either. There has to be this sustained approach, and we're here to grow with our clients through that.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. It's basically you have to improve and expand your presence. That expands the reach of the customers you're trying to talk to. And that's what generates growth, right? It's like a multi-step thing. As if without telling your story and getting out in front of your new customers, you're never going to reach them. Once you get out in front of your new customers, you can expand that reach and that storyline. And then that by default brings growth. And that stuff just doesn't happen overnight. That's a sustained effort with a plan. And that's something that's very critical that I think a lot of people in the cannabis space just overlook because we're all so busy doing what we do.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to get in that sort of circumstance where you're so busy working the work that you don't have time to think about these things. But I think I always like to compare it to, it's like really any other relationship. I mean, you know, if any friendship, your spouse, your kids, if you don't communicate with them, you know, the relationship's going to sour, and or it's not, or at least it's not going to flourish. And so you really need to think of your business in the same way, with the audiences and the people that you need to connect with. If you're ignoring them, why should they pay attention to you?
Absolutely. Very well said. And it is like a relationship, because I think what we've developed, even with our weekly calls and the evolution of our relationship, has helped us evolve the story. And sometimes it helps to have someone outside of your business helping you think about strategy and positioning. That's one of the things I think most companies suffer from, is they start up and they have this thought process of, well, this is who we are and this is what we do. And then you get a team like you guys who have worked with a lot of other customers to say, yeah, that is what you do, but is that where you want to be? And is that the kind of relationships you want to grow? Is that going to be the thing that's going to keep you in business in the next 5 years? And sometimes it's hard for those that are working within the company to even think those thoughts. So that relationship that we have with you also helps us think about the relationships that we have with our customers and our clients, even the ones we haven't met yet. And I think that's important. That's what creates true synergy. And that's what creates these neat, evolving relationships that are mutually beneficial. You guys help us, we help you, we get new clients. They're excited to work with new technology that maybe they wouldn't have known about if Jim and Wes wouldn't have put that piece in that article. So it really makes this neat cooperative community. So I couldn't be more blessed and more excited and appreciative. And I want to touch on really quickly, they've helped us with press releases where we've got multi-million hits on some of the releases, articles showing up in national publications and local publications and newspapers. They've helped us develop a plan moving forward. They've helped us move into new markets and new messages to speak to new customers that we aren't even working with. And they're even helping us now with the evolution of speaking engagements into various different conferences now that those are picking back up, helping us build our message for those conferences, booth design. I mean, these guys are really helping us with a lot, and, you know, extra services that they provide that they're not working with us currently is website development, branding, SEO, search engine optimization. There's so much more to it about strategy and positioning and thinking about this in a proactive way. So all of these things are things we overlook. Email marketing, right? How to build a database and market to people through strategic email systems where you're not just pitching everyone on your services. And all of these things can be a check on the checkbox, but in reality, it's part of the grand plan. And it doesn't mean we're going to tackle it all at once, but it definitely means things that we should be looking at this. So guys, I really I want to continue the discussion with us and the discussion for our customers. We are a big believer in the services that you've provided. Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on about any services or information that you want to leave with the people that are watching this today?
Yeah, you know, the Ninth Block is a full service agency. At the end of the day, we specialize in communications and branding. That's our bread and butter. But we do it all when it comes to marketing, especially in the cannabis space. And we'd love to offer free consultation to anybody that's interested in learning more about the Ninth Block. And you can reach us at theninthblock.com, and feel free to reach out directly by email to Jim at jim@theninthblock.com or Wes at theninthblock.com. Jim, anything else?
Well, yeah, I wanted to bring up, going back to the nutraceuticals world, I wanted to get this in. I think that that is a great example of not only of us working really collaboratively with the client, but of you guys at Volunteer Botanical understanding, and something I think more businesses need to understand, that their message is not the story. Finding out how their message fits into a larger story is the way that they can get attention. And so it's something I think, what you mentioned about us being a third party, being able to say things, tell a client things that maybe they're too myopic or too focused to think of themselves, it's very important that folks recognize that everybody thinks that their baby is the most beautiful baby in the world, but we're able to kind of say, hey, you need to do this or that with your baby to make it more acceptable or more interesting to folks out there, your audience. And I just think that's a lesson businesses, we can help businesses learn.
Absolutely. And that goes for any business, even outside of the cannabis space, is we are very myopic thinkers because we do what we do, right? And things beyond that are sometimes very hard to even bring into our space. And I'm glad you touched on that. That's something you did for us and you continue to do. So guys, ninthblock.com is where you can find these gentlemen. If you have any specific questions for me and our experience with Jim and Wes, please reach out to me at jason@volunteerbotanicals.com. And let's move this industry forward together. Let's use our strategic partners in the right way, and we can accomplish new things and working in collaborative environments. I like to believe that cooperation is the new competition. And in doing so, this is where we can push this industry into very, very new corners. And we're very excited about the evolution of where it's all going. And we couldn't have done it without the Ninth Block and without Jim and Wes. I can tell you that. We are where we are because of these guys. And we can't thank you enough. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. We love being here.
All right, my friend. Take care.